Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Thought it would be a good time to introduce the newest project car. So as you can see here, it looks to be a very tired Lincoln Town Car. And it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. So this particular car I picked up over the weekend in Charleston, South Carolina. The previous owners had parked it for 2 years under their carport because of some health problems. And this is exactly how I picked it up, all covered in dirt. From the outside it looks pretty sad, but it's actually a pretty nice car as we start to look around it. So let's take a look. Now the body's pretty filthy just from sitting for a couple years. The cow's full of leaves and other debris, and the same with the trunk inside the trunk lip. But it's really not in bad shape. Has a few scuffs, a few chips in it there. You can see through the dirt that it's pretty dull, but I took some compound to it in a few spots and it actually cleaned up really well. So I think with probably a 4-stage polish and glaze sealer and wax, the body itself should come out pretty nice. It's got a few scrapes. It's pretty much from here down the back. It had a small incident, so I should be able to buff out this area of the lip and then touch up along here on the wheel well, and it should be fine. There's no rust on the car. It's a Southern car. I looked underneath it. It's just a little bit of very light surface rust. No issue there. I can polish up the headlights. That's not a big deal either. And the big elephant in the room is the fake convertible top on this one. So sitting outside under a carport did not do it any favors. That's for sure. So it was light brown. It was pretty much this color to start with. And it looks a little worse for wear. So when I picked it up, this part was it was fine to just above the rubber seal. It was starting to curl up a little bit, so I took some tape, some painter's tape, and ran a strip about this big across it to try to hopefully keep it from peeling back. But about 5 miles down the interstate, I looked back and the toupee was kind of just flapping in the breeze back there. So there was really no saving it anyway. So I've already called around several places in town, upholstery shops, and I found about 4 different places that can replace these tops. But the issue is one of them is a year out, one of them 6 months out, another one's 3 months, and another one's about a month out. So depending on how quick I want to have this done, they're looking anywhere from a month to a year, and probably about $1,000 to have it recovered. The other option, if you're not familiar with how these fake tops work, there's usually a fiberglass cap and then the canvas or the vinyl's laminated on top of that. So the other option is I can peel off the canvas and unscrew the cap and have the top and the top of the doors repainted and just have it be a regular black car with a black roof, which is what I would prefer. But I think cost-wise it'll probably be more to have the top repainted and the top of the doors fixed, because these little caps are screwed all along the top, well, all along here. So it's a piece of fiberglass. It's not attached to anything, like the door molding runs underneath it and it's just kind of floating on top. But yeah, you've got a handful of screws down the inside, so you'd have to fix those holes and blend it in. And same back here. I'm sure there's a bunch of screws in this area that hold it on. And then you've got this little trim strip across the trunk, and that's held on with screws. So you'd have to fix the trunk too, a bunch of screws, and blend in part or all of the trunk. So I don't know, I think I'm better off just recovering the top, and I would probably put a black top on it so that it was a little less obvious that it's a fake convertible top. But overall, it looks bad now, but I think a quick wash and detail and the outside will look really good minus the top. Mechanically, I haven't got into it too much yet, so just as a quick look, the tires have a ton of tread on them, but they're date coded from 2011 and they're starting to dry rot, being 10 years old. So I'm going to replace those. The brakes, at least on the back, I can see that it has a lot of pad on it, and the rotor should clean up with a couple hard stops. Should clean off any of that surface rust. I haven't driven it down the road yet, so I'm not sure how it drives. Can't really see with the wheel on. I can't see how much pad's in the front, but that won't be too bad if I've got to put brakes on it. The car did come with a bunch of service records, and the most recent one was in 2019 in December, and it had $1,600 worth of work done at the Ford dealer. They replaced the fuel pump, filter, a whole bunch of other stuff, did an oil change, and the car was driven 10 miles and then parked for, like I said, 2 years under a carport. The previous owner owned it for about 10 years. They only put 20,000 miles on it in that 10 years, but they kept up the maintenance pretty well. A bunch of service records for oil changes and a bunch of other service at the dealer. So it's been a well-maintained car. The air suspension, it's original and it's been holding. Car's been sitting for 2 days and it never went down, so that should be pretty good. And those of you that are familiar with these cars, you know they're pretty durable. Quick look on Craigslist, I saw a handful of 300,000 mile town cars for sale, a couple with 260,000 miles. So this 4.6 liter goes and goes and goes. So let's take a look at the inside and under the hood. All right, under the hood we've got the very well-known 4.6 liter V8. It seems to run great. It idles fine, shifts into the gears fine. Take it down the road in a little bit to see how well it actually does run. But even on 2-year-old gas, it idles perfect. Yes, there's really nothing to speak of in here. From the top side at least, I don't see any leaks. Everything's dry. Later on I'll get under it and actually see if there's any leaks or issues, but this engine's pretty well in the open, and I can see quite a bit from the top side, and everything appears to be okay. I don't see any rodent nests or anything like that under the hood, so that's good. There's a new battery in it. The coolant is full, and I did a test on it, and it still shows as good. The air filter was just replaced. The power steering fluid was flushed. At 40,000 miles at customer request, all of the spark plugs and all of the coils were replaced. It didn't note any issues with the way the car ran. It just said customer request replacement of spark plugs and all coil packs. So that stuff should be good too. Let's take a look to the inside now. All right, and here we have the most comfortable place to be. Big, flat, comfortable leather seats that are in really nice shape. The interior of this car is in really nice shape, I must say. Very little wear, just a few wrinkles. Passenger seat and the back seat look like new. The dash and everything is in great condition. The carpets, they just need a vacuum and hit a few spots, a little bit of tea here or there. The cigarette lighter is clean. Been a non-smoker car. It smells a little musty from being closed up for 2 years, but it's not moldy or anything. So I think just a quick scrub down and it should be pretty good to go. So just the cursory look that I've had around and playing with the different buttons and things. So I've found that the radio has no AM/FM reception, but the tape player works fine. And it's got the infamous driver door module that's going bad. So I've already partially taken the door apart because the door ajar light is always on and the rear window quit working, and the power mirrors don't work with the switch, but they'll work if you hit the memory set 1 or 2. They'll move back into position. But if you play with the switch, they'll, like if I set it on left and start moving them around, the right mirror will work, and if I put it on right, the right mirror will only work in one direction. So that could be the switch. I'll pick up a used switch somewhere. The window, I'm not sure. Hopefully it's the module, the driver module, and not some wiring issue. But the guy that I bought it off of, he said when he started the car that all the windows worked. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but he said that all of the windows were working. But I can dig into that a little bit later. If I need to, I can pull the rear door panel off and directly wire the window, see if it goes up and down. But all the seats work. The seat heat works on both seats. Yeah, so the inside, like I said, the inside's in good shape. And one other thing, I know the air conditioner doesn't work. I found a service record back in 2016 where it was checked and it said high side issue, and they recharged it, and I haven't seen any other services since then. So either it worked from 2016 to 2019 when it was parked, or the air conditioning quit working and they just said screw it and didn't bother to fix it. So I'll have my neighbor come over. He's got some AC equipment so he can check it. Take a look at the back seat. Door panels are in nice shape, just a little dirty. Same with the carpet. Back seat, a little dirty, but in really nice shape. And even being in hot, humid Charleston, South Carolina, the headliner isn't falling down anywhere. It's in great shape. Yes, though. So overall, the interior should be pretty easy to get back into really nice shape. And if we take a look in the trunk, got the enormous trunk, the 10 dead body size trunk. So it needs a little bit of cleanup, but again, it's not terrible. Got the spare tire over here that's never been used. Still has all of the flash on the rubber. And over here, I know the previous owner said that he was messing around with the air suspension in the back to make sure it worked. He had raised it up to the full height, and he had adjusted the height sensor to make sure everything was working, and it seems to be fine. It's one thing I would like to have a look at, that it's sitting at its factory height, which is the back end a lot higher than the front, so I might get under it and adjust the height sensor to level out the car a little more. So it definitely has quite a bit of a rake to it, and that's factory, so I'll deal with that another day. But the soft close trunk seems to function fine, so it closes itself. All the lights work. So far everything seems to be working fine, besides the few things that I mentioned, which I think are all, hopefully, fingers crossed, are all related to the driver door module. So I'll try to find a used one. This is a 2003. There's another 2003 with the same options as this over at the local Pull Apart. So I'm gonna run over there and see if hopefully it's still together. Hopefully the door's still together, and I can snag that and just start putting it back together. Try to fix one problem at a time. But I guess we could take it for a quick drive, just up and down the road. I don't want to venture too far with it right now, and see how it runs. Starts and sounds like a Ford. Had the beep for the door ajar, so yeah, it's gonna complain about that. So all of the interior lights are on. Probably gonna be hearing the toupee flapping on the roof while we're driving too. Shifts well. Brakes are mushy, but they seem to stop okay. Nice and smooth. So hopefully I won't have to do anything with the brakes. I probably should have cut that chunk of top off before going for a drive. But whatever, it's a first drive. Steering's pretty tight. I don't hear any clunks or bangs or anything. Seems to track straight. I think it definitely needs an alignment though. When I was standing in front of it, with the wheel straight ahead, you could see the left wheel was noticeably pointing to the outside, and the right wheel was noticeably pointing to the outside on that side too. So the toe is definitely way off. So when I have the tires put on, I'll have that done too, with front end alignment. It's definitely, this type of car is definitely not my normal cup of tea, but as anybody that flips cars is aware right now in the 2020-2021 year, there's no inventory for anything. Like new cars, used cars, project cars, there's like no inventory. And when you do find something, it's so outrageously priced that there's no sense in even buying it. So this I was lucky enough to find on a car forum that I'm part of. The guy he just needed to get rid of it. They were downsizing their house. They had a bunch of crap that they were getting rid of, and they just priced it low and said it's got to go ASAP. I definitely see why old people love these things though. It's quiet, it's comfortable. You just kind of sink into the seats. It just floats down the road. It's come up to temperature fine. It's right in the middle where it should be. Let's see if the cruise control works. Works. That's good. When I checked it yesterday, it had no FM reception. Yep, still nothing now. runs great. So hopefully mechanically I don't have to do too much with it. I'll throw an oil change at it and tires and alignment, and hopefully, cross your fingers, that's all that I'll need to do. And then it'll be a lot of exterior and interior detailing. Like I said, some of the electronic gremlins, will deal with that. Hopefully they're just one thing, this module over here. So thanks for watching, and tune in as I try to put this thing back together.